and welcome to our lesson on kinetic color theory. Today's lesson is based on an artist named Carlos Cruz-Diez. He is originally from Venezuela. He's an amazing artist and he worked a lot with color. So we're going to learn a lot about color today in our lesson. So for today's lesson, we're going to create a kinetic crosswalk, just like this one. And if you come visit the Museum of Fine Arts Houston, you will see we have two crosswalks that this artist, Mr. Diaz, actually painted. So it's an outdoor artwork that's really pedestrian friendly. It's for when you cross the streets, and it's interactive because you actually walk across it when you're visiting the museum. Those two particular artworks are actually starting to get a little bit dull and faded since they've been there for so long. But in our brand new Kinder building at the museum, we also have some of his artwork on display. So you can see other artworks by him there as well. So what is kinetic color? What is kinetic color theory? If you think of the word kinetic, it means movement and action. So the idea that Carlos Cruz-Diez worked with is that kinetic color is how color in art can be unstable and ambiguous and move. So this artist did a lot of experiments using just color and thinking of how he could make color move. So he did lots of experiments with art, with color, and he has a beautiful studio, and some of his family members work for him, and he creates amazing outdoor artwork installations, indoor artwork, everything that has to do with color and color theory. So for today's lesson, to create our colorful sidewalk pieces, you're going to need a piece of paper that you have in your kit that's 9 by 12 inches. The first thing you're going to do with your paper is cut it in half. So you can measure your paper. If it's 9 inches, half is 4.5. So use a ruler, measure it in half, and draw a line across the middle. So I've already drawn one here. Once you cut it in half, you'll have 2 equal pieces. This is perfect. One half is going to be where you put your artwork. The other half you're going to use to make a stencil. I already created 2 stencils here. You can make a rectangle and a triangle, and then you can weave these together to make your project. So how did I make these stencils? Pretty easy. I took my second piece of paper. I measured a line about 1 centimeter down here, right across here, and a second one on the bottom. Now, why did I do that? Well, pretty simple. We don't want our stencil to go off the paper. We have to make sure it's contained within the paper. So once you've done that, you can measure a 1-inch rectangle and a 1-inch triangle. Well, the base of the triangle. So I measure 1 inch here. I measure my inch, my other inch on the bottom and on the top. And this will help me to make my stencil. So there we go. Complete it using my ruler, and then you cut it out. Now I cut out my rectangle with an X-Acto knife. So I was able to use an X-Acto knife because I'm an adult. If you are a child and you don't have an adult with you, I want you to use scissors. It's much safer. So you can poke a hole with the scissors and cut out your rectangle. Make a little slit, poke your scissors through, and you can cut out your rectangle. And then once you've cut it out, you'll have your rectangle stencil. Now for the triangle stencil, I made the exact same shape rectangle, but I just did a diagonal line across it, and that helped me to make this little shape here. All right, once you've made your 2 stencils, we are ready to start adding color to our crosswalk. The funnest thing, the most exciting thing for you is to design the colors and the order of how you want to make your sidewalk. So you can see the color scheme that I used here. And the idea of kinetic color is as you walk past it, as you walk down the sidewalk, it moves and the colors change. So think of what colors you want to put beside each other. Let's say I'm going to start with my rectangle. I'm going to place it here on my paper, and it'll fit perfectly because we use the same size paper. And you'll have a nice edge at the top and bottom. And I'm going to make my first one, let's say green. So what I'm going to do is take my cotton ball and dip it carefully in the green part of my ink pad. I'm going to hold the stencil steady, and I'm going to wipe the color onto here. Refill it with a little more color. Whoops, oops, I should hold it steady. And then put it back on here. And it makes a perfect rectangle when you take the stencil off. So that's my first rectangle. Now I'm going to move my stencil over just a tiny bit, a little space, and now let's go for the blue since it's right here beside it. I can use the same cotton ball. I'm just going to fold it over a tiny bit and use the clean side of it. So I'm going to dip in the blue ink, and same thing. A little bit of green is coming off on it, and that's totally fine. It gives it sort of a shadowy look. I think this one is a little newer. Oh yeah, there we go. So we get our blue on here, and because there's a little green in it, it's actually making kind of an aqua color that I really like. Okay, so there goes the second color. Move on to a triangle now. For my triangle, I think I'll do, let's see, maybe purple. So to get to the purple, I'm going to use a new cotton ball. I'm going to squish this up, and I'm going to dip it right in the middle in my ink pad. Press nice and hard to pick up some ink. And then fill in my purple. Oh yeah, this looks great. So you can see my first triangle. Now there's a reverse space here, so I'm going to put my triangle stencil back the other way and fill it up with, what color would I like? How about something bright like orange? So I'm going to flip this little fella over. Or you know what? Let's do the red since it's right beside the purple. So I'll dip it in the red, nice and firm, and then fill in my stencil with the red. So my kinetic sidewalk is coming together. So at home, you can keep going and filling it up with a different mix of rectangles and triangles until you have it all complete. Something fun you can do an extension project with this is, if you like, you can go outside with chalk in front of your house or in your neighborhood, and you can make your own kinetic design that people can walk across in your neighborhood. So I hope you enjoy this kinetic art project at home, and it's based on, again, the artist Carlos Cruz-Diez. So when you come to the Museum of Fine Arts, you can see his artwork outside, and then you can also see some of his pieces indoor in our new Kinder building that we have.